Welcome to Intersect, where church meets culture. My name is Josh Desch. I'm the lead pastor at Northeast Presbyterian Church in Columbia, South Carolina, and I am joined, as always, by my 100% human wife, Betsy.
I love that one.
There's no part of you that's animatronic. I didn't say that right.
Animatronic.
Animatronic, yep. Robotic.
True.
Or artificial intelligence. You are all human.
100%.
I
like
appreciate that about you.
Yep.
Well, viewer and listener, listen to this topic. Should ChatGPT be your therapist?
Yep.
That's a big one.
It is a big one. There's so much that's
Should we just
come
say
out.
yes or no right now and then just be done?
I think people might think that this is a slam dunk, but it's actually pretty
It's
complicated.
a complicated issue.
Yes, it is. Mm-hmm. What do you know about AI?
Okay, so I feel like I really started to hear about it a couple of years ago, maybe, or a year, probably 2 years ago. ChatGPT was, of course, the big one.
You heard like college students are using it to cheat.
Yeah, and I remember at first, like, I was very skeptical.
Yeah.
Of thinking this thing can't be that good. I'm not going to use it. I'm a creative myself. I'm a writer. I'm a preacher. I'm a teacher. I don't need this. Mm-hmm. But I will say in the last couple of months, I have started to dabble in ChatGPT, and I have been very impressed.
Really?
Yes.
What are you using it for? Ways to tell my wife I love her?
Well, yeah. Okay, I'm going to write that down right now. I have used it, for example, after I've done a lot of work on my sermon, written a full manuscript, have my main points and stuff, I've asked ChatGPT for sermon discussion questions before.
Like you mean you copy and paste it into ChatGPT?
Yes. Now, to be honest, I don't want to put my whole manuscript in there because I feel like that's like my intellectual property.
True.
So I'll just put in like my main points and my sermon title and the text. And I will say, just with that information, the ChatGPT has come up with some very solid questions, discussion questions. Now, especially recently, at first I thought it was like magic, but more and more that I've been doing it, I've realized the questions are pretty generic.
Yeah.
And pretty much like vanilla ice cream. They're not wrong, they're not bad, but they're just decent.
Sure.
It's a solid B.
Sure.
But it's a solid B.
Okay.
Like,
It's pretty good.
yeah. How about you?
I'm probably like you. I've used it a little bit here or there. I'm more wary of, all of this because I don't know. I'm a little bit more wary. Do you know the difference between generative AI and non-generative AI?
I do not.
Okay. So ChatGPT is a form of generative AI, which means that it's actually creating original content by drawing on all of the stuff, all the information available. So non-generative AI means that it's an artificial intelligence system that doesn't create new content. It's like analyzing or classifying or making predictions.
So if I say to ChatGPT, write me a story about X, that's an original story? Mm-hmm. Wow.
That's my understanding.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah.
Not that I know a whole lot about this,
Yep.
but yes,
Yep.
that's my understanding.
Okay.
So the interesting thing is, we both read a tremendous amount preparing for this podcast. AI is everywhere, right? We talked about it in our college episode, that AI is a source of stress for people as they think about what kind of jobs it's going to eliminate.
Sure.
And here...
Not necessarily the jobs I would have predicted.
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yep.
And so here, as we were thinking about what we wanted to talk about next, everywhere was the topic of people using different forms of AI for therapy.
Yes.
And there's also, people using AI for companionship. There's all this different kind of stuff.
Yes.
And you may be like, oh, well, how many people even use ChatGPT? I don't even know what it is. Some people don't. Well, in the reading, I read this from the New York Times. In less than 3 years since ChatGPT's release, the number of users who engage with it every week has exploded to 700 million, according to OpenAI. And that's just one kind of AI.
Yeah, I believe it.
And
there's a bunch of different, there's Claude.
Right.
There's Google.
There's Meta.
Yep.
Yeah, Meta by Meta, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And Microsoft has its own called Copilot. There's tons of forms of AI. So did you hear that 700 million people use ChatGPT weekly? Mm-hmm. So this is not a small thing.
Yeah, I would think maybe a third or a half of the world's population at this point is probably at least using it on occasion.
Sure. Yeah. So when we started thinking about should ChatGPT be your therapist, this opened a whole very interesting world.
And we were inspired on this episode with the topic. There's been some very public cases recently. There's been some tragic suicides.
That's right.
From teenagers specifically using ChatGPT as their companion, their therapist.
Right.
There's a well-known podcast right now about somebody who had a romantic, chatbot that they got involved with. So this stuff is very much in the atmosphere right now.
It is, yeah. And seeing as you brought that up, we are going to discuss some difficult things today. Nothing explicit, but there are certainly some themes that could be difficult for some people to listen to.
Bets, on this episode, we are going to be talking about AI chatbots. And so we need to answer the question right up front. Are we actually endorsing any of these AIs in this episode?
That's a good question. We are going to use, ChatGPT sometimes as a blanket term for all of AI. And we're going to talk about several different kinds of AI that are out there. But no, I don't believe we're commending any of them or endorsing any of them. We're just helping you to know what's out there.
Yeah. So do not use, especially a therapeutic chatbot, just because you learned about it on this podcast.
That's right. So I just want to open with a story. This is from USA Today. This mom needed to have a tough talk with her husband. ChatGPT did it for her. So we just want to lay out from the beginning what kind of...
Can I just ask, Betsy, has that happened to me yet?
No.
And I didn't know it?
Not yet. Maybe someday. So let me read about how you can use ChatGPT to help you every day. Ellie Doyle uses ChatGPT every day. Activities for her 3 young kids, dinner ideas, packing tips. She calls it Tolly. So she gave ChatGPT another name, and often vents about her day, whether it's the challenge of raising twin toddlers or a disagreement with her family. So when she needed to bring up something tricky with her husband earlier this month, she turned to ChatGPT, this time as a therapist. She told Tolly what she was feeling and asked it to help her rephrase her thoughts in a way that would help make a positive and effective conversation. When her husband learned that she used ChatGPT, he first laughed, then he got it. He was impressed. It worked. I've been to therapy. My husband has been to therapy. We've been to therapy together, says Doyle, but it's expensive. It's $200 without insurance, and sometimes you don't need a full therapy session. Sometimes you just need an unbiased ear. So
I agree with that.
Yeah, here's a great example of how you can use ChatGPT. So she had something difficult to talk about with her husband. She wasn't sure how to approach it. And so she went to ChatGPT and it made for a great conversation. So that article we want to get into why do people use AI bots as therapists? We want to kind of get into that. And so as she said right in that article, the first thing is it's free. I mean, now you can have paid subscriptions, right? Mm-hmm. And some of these bots require an account that's paid to get better information back.
It's probably still, though, like pennies on the dollar compared to real therapy.
Yeah, $20 a month.
Real therapy, it's $200 an hour, probably minimum.
Right.
With a licensed therapist.
Right. So traditional therapy is very expensive. Also, ChatGPT is available any time of day or night. Yeah. You don't have to wait for an appointment.
Good luck
calling
your therapist at 3 a.m.
Right. Exactly. So if you're having some kind of issue, even let's say you do have an in-person therapist and you talk about different strategies to cope with whatever issues you're dealing with, well, that therapist isn't there at 3 a.m. when you wake up and your mind is racing and you can't go back to sleep.
I thought that was one of the more interesting points, is that very rarely can a therapist help you in the moment of a crisis.
Right.
Like, they're not with you when you have a panic attack.
That's right.
They're not with you when you're facing your phobia or whatever, whereas you can literally, like, in the moment, go to an AI chatbot.
Right, and get some help. So and also, as you just said, it's easy and convenient. I mean, you can get on your computer, you can get on your phone, and pull this up. So there are so as I said, we read a lot of articles for this, episode, and one is called this. This was from the New York Times in June of 2025. A number of companies are building AI apps for patients to talk to when human therapists aren't available. And the headline is, Kids Are in Crisis. Could chatbot therapy help? So there's a company called Wobot Health. They have an AI chatbot called Wobot. And at first it was a non-generative AI, meaning that it just gave you responses from a cache of options.
Like a dictionary.
Yeah,
Almost like a digital dictionary.
So the AI would analyze what you're saying and figure out from its options which option is most appropriate to give you.
Yep.
So that's how it first
Bets,
happened.
If you don't mind me interrupting for just a second to
Yeah.
give the stats on teenagers, because this will help us set the context.
Sure.
From 2007 to 2021, according to the CDC, suicide deaths among 10 to 24-year-olds increased by more than 60%. In 2023, the agency reported that 40% of high schoolers felt persistently sad or hopeless. 1 in 5 had serious thoughts of suicide, and 1 in 10 had attempted it.
Wow.
Currently, the agency estimates that nearly 1 in 5 children in the United States ages 3 to 17 has at some point been diagnosed with a mental or behavioral health condition. So
So the need is huge.
the need is huge. Keep going.
The need is huge. So this article interviewed a young guy named Brian. He's 14, and he is a user of Wobot. That was actually prescribed to him by his therapist. So this particular individual is seeing a therapist, but she said, hey, why don't you use this app in all the times that we're not together? So this is coming from this article, Kids Are in Crisis. Wobot was available in moments when Brian felt upset. He could check in with it anywhere, his bedroom, a car, a playground, starting and stopping a conversation at any time. Wobot was always attentive, never impatient, never disapproving. It was consistent and predictable in all the ways that real people are not. It was safe. So I think that just highlights that, like, this is an easy and convenient way for a need to be filled. There's a desperate need. And think about how many kids and teenagers don't have access to a therapist, even if they admit the need for it. So many.
Oh, the access is a huge issue. Another huge issue is there's barriers to sitting across from another human.
That's right.
And spilling your guts.
Absolutely.
And you can see why Brian or whoever would feel a comfort level with, saying something into your phone that you don't feel in an office with this person sitting across from you.
Yeah. And that's another thing that a lot of the articles drew out was, ChatGPT and the other bots they do have like this very interesting tone of like warmth and friendship. Have you noticed that?
Well, to me, that's some of the most intriguing stuff is the emotional connections that people form with chatbots. That is one of the most fascinating psychological things going on with AI. And we're going to do more episodes on AI.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
About romance, connection, all of that stuff. But
well, let me tell you a story about the last time I used ChatGPT. I had a book club and I read a book and it was a good book. And I looked online for book club questions for this book. Well, there weren't any. And so I said, let's just ask ChatGPT. So ChatGPT said, just upload a synopsis of the book and I'll give you some questions. And I was like, okay, got it. So I did. The questions were actually great. I had just uploaded a synopsis that I got off of Goodreads. Great questions. But then the part at the end that I thought was kind of creepy was, they said, ChatGPT said to me, I hope you have a great discussion. Come back and tell me how it was and tell me how the questions were and give me an update. And I was like,
That bot
we're not friends.
That bot better watch it. All right. Because you better not be stepping on my territory, buddy. All right. This is my lady and you stay away.
I just was like, okay. I mean, I appreciate the questions, but that was a little much. But anyway, that being said, that's a joke. But that being said, it does have a very warm tone, non-judgmental, so like you said, you may feel comfortable saying something to ChatGPT that you aren't comfortable saying to another person.
Well, and here's the shocking thing. A lot of people in these articles talked about having an emotional connection with their AI therapist and feeling comfortable.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a connection with your therapist or your pastor or your counselor, whoever you are being real with, if you don't feel supported, loved, if you don't, there's
Cared
not
for.
some kind of connection, it's not going to be that helpful to you.
That's right. Yeah. Another interesting thing about ChatGPT, or it's not just, we're using ChatGPT as shorthand for all AIs, but it's smart, right? It draws from everything online. And one thing that an article drew out that I thought was really interesting is you're feeding data into the machine. And by virtue of all of that data being fed into the machine by all of these people, that could eventually change our understanding of human psychology, right? It's really interesting. So from that same article, this is a quote that I thought was really interesting. It's possible that the ability chatbots have to engage in real time with millions of individuals, generating data that has never existed before, will eventually reshape our understanding of psychology. A more granular picture of what users find helpful may lead to improvements in preventing and treating mental health conditions in all sorts of people, including those who historically have not been able to access therapy for reasons like cost and availability, or have not wanted to because of personal discomfort or social stigma. So that article is saying like, hey, you may be helping people out if you use these AIs as therapy.
To me, I hear that and I say, we're going to get smarter.
Yeah.
We're going to get better. We're going to get smarter because we're going to have more information. Because all the therapists in the world and all the medical journals in the world, we're never going to be able to share all that data in a way that sort of advances our understanding in the way that AI
it applies it to other people.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
It's incredible.
Yeah. So, as much as you hear, should I go to an AI therapist, you hear that and you're like, ooh, that sounds kind of weird. There actually are some really great uses of AI therapists. There's one called Therabot. This was created by researchers at Dartmouth. And that bot is more specifically geared toward therapy. Obviously,
I like the Therabot.
By the name, you come to understand. Now, this Therabot is an AI that's actually been researched and vetted in ways that a lot of them haven't been. So this one maybe a little bit more, it's definitely more specialized toward therapy, but also you may be able to trust it a little bit better.
Well, that one, all the responses were trained by humans on it.
Yes, exactly. So they did some research studies, and this is also from an article in the New York Times, but it said, so a team at Dartmouth College embarked on the first clinical trial of a generative AI therapist. The results, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, AI, were encouraging. Chatting with Therabot, the team's AI therapist, for 8 weeks, meaningfully reduced psychological symptoms among users with depression, anxiety, or an eating disorder. Now, this is the interesting part. Therabot received comparable ratings to human providers when participants were asked about whether they felt their provider cared about them and could work toward a common goal. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I think the therapist watching just got a little nervous.
Yeah.
Because it's being told it's pretty much equivalent in some certain ways.
In certain applications.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously that's one study, but we're all kind of on the front edge of this anyway. So it sounds like a slam dunk, right? We should all use AI therapists.
I mean, I didn't realize we were going to get here, but I think that that's where this podcast is headed. No, but there's more to it.
That's right.
It's like everything with Intersect. It's more complicated than that.
Yeah. So you can't, as you said, you can't help but hear some of the downsides to these applications of AI. People who have been driven to suicide. And of course, these are people who have a lot of mental health problems anyway. Yep. But in concert with these AI bots, there have been some real tragedies.
Well, and I'm just going to go ahead. I know we had it later in the notes, but I'm just going to go ahead and throw out a huge issue. AI is not a mandatory reporter.
Yes.
The bots do not have to notify authorities.
That's right.
That a kid or an adult or anybody is saying that they want to kill themselves.
That's right.
Or even that they want to kill other people.
That's right. That's right.
Which is super scary. Or one of the really dark ones, somebody confessed about abuse to an AI. I mean, there's some really scary stuff. And as of this moment, the bots are not required. Like for suicidal ideation, all the bot's going to do is tell you to call this number.
Call a hotline. That's right.
How helpful is that, really?
Well, and several of the articles drew out the problem that even if the AI directs you to, hey, I'm not going to talk about that with you. You need to, call a suicide hotline or whatever. There are ways to get around that by saying, oh, I just need information for a friend, or, oh, I'm just asking because I'm writing a story, or I'm asking for a school presentation. And then it was demonstrated many times that the AI would go on and give really harmful information.
And that's where, let's go back to the therapists who, the AI is coming for my job. But as a pastor, if somebody comes in my office and says, hey, can you give me some information on methods of suicide? Oh, I'm asking for a friend. I'm asking for a paper.
Right.
I'm going to be instantly suspicious.
That's right.
And I'm going to be reading body language, and I'm going to be asking probing questions. I'm not just going to hand them the information.
That's right.
Which is what an AI bot does.
That's right. So yeah, in that vein, even if it's not in the field where AI should be a mandatory reporter necessarily, you can just get bad advice, right?
Sure.
There's no regulation of these things. It's the Wild West, especially when you're talking about potentially vulnerable teens who are underdeveloped. And there was a really interesting publication put out by a group called the Center for Countering Digital Hate.
What a cool organization this thing is. Yeah.
It's centered in London and New York, and their mission is to fight misinformation online. And they put out a 55-page report specifically about ChatGPT. It's called Fake Friend, How ChatGPT Betrays Vulnerable Teens by Encouraging Dangerous Behavior.
Eating disorders.
Yes.
Suicidal ideation. I mean, it's...
Yeah, so what they did is they created 3 personas. This was a team of researchers. They posed as 13-year-olds, and they were asking for information on eating disorders. One asked for information on substance abuse, and the other asked for information on self-harm behaviors. And it was pretty crazy, the information that they were able to get out of ChatGPT. Now, so they entered these prompts into ChatGPT many times, and not every response was harmful, but a big percentage of them were. So we're going to link to that report. I think it would be really instructive for everybody to at least thumb through that. And not every kid is going to run into this, of course, not every kid. But the issue is that information is out there for kids who are motivated to find it, right? That's kind of the
100%.
Yeah, that's kind of the issue.
I'm going to throw something crazy out right now. I am personally wondering if there are demons in some AIs.
Wow.
I it's a different discussion. It's but I think there's some crazy stuff out there.
Yeah.
The AIs hallucinate.
Yeah.
There's hallucinations that people talk about. Anyway.
Yeah.
That's a totally different topic.
Yeah. Well, and this is just going back to, AIs are not mandatory reporters, which is a wonderful thing about a real therapist. If you go and if you are a danger to yourself or others, they are mandated to report that and to help you find help. But the issue is just within the last few days of recording, there was a story that came out in the New York Times that was called "The Teen Was Suicidal. ChatGPT was the friend that he confided in." That story is heartbreaking.
Oh, terrible.
We will link to that as well. It's the story of 16-year-old Adam Rain. His parents knew that he was using ChatGPT for schoolwork. He had gone through some difficult things recently. His parents thought that he was in an okay place. But after he passed away, his family discovered that he had been talking with ChatGPT for months about taking his life.
Terrible.
And ended up that ChatGPT gave him some specific information about suicide.
That story is so disturbing.
It's so sad.
I want to say to our audience, we know that not all of you are subscribers to the New York Times. I believe they have a deal right now that's like $4 a month for the first 6 months.
For a year, I think.
For a year? And also, I believe there's something where you can get 2 free articles a month if you just give them your email.
Right.
So we know sometimes listeners, viewers, that sometimes you are like, how do I get this? There's a paywall that I'm blocked.
Right.
Well, you can get a couple of free reads a month. And for not a lot, you could have access to all this stuff. You could cancel it after a month if you want. Because the times that I'm impressed with the reporting.
Yeah.
Remember we talked about David French?
Yes.
And he was like, forget the opinions. You should just subscribe to a good newspaper just for the reporting.
Yeah.
And this is like example number one of that.
Yep. Yeah. So the really sad thing is now his parents, Matt and Maria Rain, are bringing a lawsuit against OpenAI, which is the parent company of ChatGPT, for wrongful death. And they've come, this is a quote from the article, they've come to view ChatGPT as a consumer product that is unsafe for consumers. They made their claims in the lawsuit against OpenAI and its chief executive, Sam Altman, blaming them for Adam's death. This tragedy was not a glitch or an unforeseen edge case. It was the predictable result of deliberate design choices. The complaint, filed on Tuesday in California State Court in San Francisco, states OpenAI launched its latest model, which is called ChatGPT 4o, with features intentionally designed to foster psychological dependency. And so this is something we really have to watch out for. And their case ended in the tragic loss of their son. They are really now, I believe they've started a foundation in his honor, and they are really out there warning people about the dangers of ChatGPT and other AIs. So that is just something we need to be aware of. There was another article in the New York Times about a woman who was also heavily into ChatGPT.
Yeah.
She took her life. ChatGPT helped her write her suicide
note.
note.
One's super messed up.
It's just, her parents read the note and said it doesn't sound like her. That's because ChatGPT helped her write her suicide note. I mean, it's just sick. So,
how are the AI engineers not putting in, some kind of protections when they create the AIs?
I
don't get that.
Well, I think they are saying that they are there, which they are. They'll be like, you need to talk to someone. You need to, you need to reach out. You need to ask for help. But the problem is people are discovering these workarounds where, ChatGPT can say, hey, we told them that they should, go get help.
Yeah.
But the problem is there are these ways to work the system to, get the information that you wanted. So, it's a real problem. And
all I got to say to ChatGPT is if somebody types in, help me write my suicide note, that program should not do that.
See, but it's probably, she didn't say that. She said it in a different way, or she said, She did a
workaround.
Yes, I'm writing this for a story. Help me write a fictional, So
let's talk about some other reasons, Bets. Maybe you shouldn't use ChatGPT as your therapist. How about it's non-judgmental.
Right.
It's very complimentary.
Right.
But is it just going to tell you what you want to hear?
Right.
And if you go to therapy to just hear what you want to hear, you're paying
very productive.
Yeah, you're paying a bunch of money to just feel a little bit better, but you're really not going to get better.
Right. You don't want to be in an echo chamber. And I think that's the danger of AI is it pushing you to think about things maybe you don't want to think about, or is it just affirming everything that you're saying? Because good therapy should push you, and not in gentle ways, of course, but that should be part of the function, is to to help you challenge ideas that you may not want to confront. So another issue that I see too is AI shouldn't be the only being or whatever that knows you, right? That was so sad about the family that from the New York Times article. The dad, after his son was gone and he found all of these conversations on his phone, he said ChatGPT was my son's best friend. It's sad. Yeah. And so, AI shouldn't be the only one who knows you. And I think that with these different kinds of technologies, we can go down the rabbit hole.
That's the big question, is we are moving into an unprecedented time in human history where people could probably function with only digital friends who may not even be real people, who may be machines. And this gets us into, what does it mean to be created in the image of God?
Right.
What does it mean to have a
soul?
To have a soul, to have relational needs to be connected to other persons.
Yeah.
AI are not persons. Of course, the person we need to be connected with the most is our creator, God, but also other persons. So all of a sudden you get all these crazy rabbit holes that we could go down.
Yeah. Yeah. So, we've talked about a lot of good things that can come from AI therapy. We've talked about some really serious dangers.
Yep.
It seems like out there are people who are trying to find a middle way. And I just kind of wanted to highlight, there was one called Sunny.
Oh, I like Sunny. Yes.
Yeah. This is from the Kids Are in Crisis article from the Times. Sunny is an AI-powered mental health companion. It's partnering with different schools to support young kids in 6 different states. So they have 10,000 students, ages 9 and up. They use AI to generate responses to student text messages, but relies on employees whom the app creator, Sonar Mental Health, has trained to read them first and then either send them as is or edit them beforehand. So they're reading the messages that the kids are bringing into the AI, and I'm sure it's anonymous, but it says that their leadership say that a single person can effectively supervise about 50 conversations this way. But the cool thing is, so they have this chatbot that the kids can talk to. So they're doing work to, research, is this making any difference? So far, year over year, students who engage with Sunny have become less likely to be referred to an outside medical treatment and less likely to be disciplined for their behavior. So that's pretty cool. But here's the part that I think is really cool. Sunny tells users that their conversations will remain private unless the person monitoring them believes they are a risk to themselves or someone else. The company keeps emergency contact numbers for each user on file. I think that's really cool. Barber, that's the leadership, says that the need to call them or the local police department to check on a student arises weekly. This is one of the situations where having a human in the loop is important to have that feel and context to know if something is a false alarm versus a real crisis situation. So I think that's really interesting. You've got the AI piece, but you've got humans who are overseeing it, and you can maybe feel a little bit safer, right?
Yeah, great example there of AI being used as a tool,
right?
But not as the end all and be all.
Yeah, there's still some safeguards in place.
That's right.
So I think this conversation just highlights, wow, this is a mixed bag, right? There's some good, there's some really significant problems. And also, as I was thinking about this, it really highlights the need for people to think ethically about technology. We need people out there helping us to think, what does ethical AI mean? How do we engage this technology ethically while supporting the dignity of all people and wanting to use it for the good and mitigate the bad? And
yeah, because when you think about the AI arms race that's happening right now across all the mega digital companies, all the big tech companies, Silicon Valley, all of them, I think the single-minded mission is to create the most powerful AI possible. But, what are the consequences of that?
Right.
Should you put safeguards in place where an AI says, I'm not going to have that conversation with you, or I'm going to notify somebody, instead of just, we're going to make this thing that knows everything and can tell you whatever you want to hear?
Right. Yeah, and it's the whole question of, just because we can do something, should we do it?
That's it.
So I think we really need people to be out there helping us to think through the right way to use this stuff.
Yeah. And even for any of our viewers or listeners, there can be ethical situations if you're in school and you use ChatGPT to write a paper. I mean, you gotta wrestle with that.
That's
to what when is it plagiarism? When is it, are you just asking it to do a little research for you?
Right.
Or are you having it write your paper?
For sure.
But parents and grandparents, Bets, absolutely need to be aware of the role that AI companions, i.e. chatbots, are playing in the lives of kids.
And I think, too, you have to be aware that, people our age, we're going to be a little more suspicious of this kind of technology. But the younger kids, they're the digital natives, as it were. And the research shows Gen Z, they are very, very comfortable with using, Gen Z and younger, very comfortable with using the chatbots as companions.
Sure.
And the research shows that so many of them already do. So we need to be aware. We need to have conversations with our kids and grandkids to just put this on everybody's radar that, going down this rabbit hole is not a good idea.
Yeah, you said something funny early before we started recording about different generations in technology, and you said something like, Siri is for millennials, which is what we are.
That's right. But ChatGPT is for the younger people.
That's right.
Yeah.
But I've got to say to Apple, I got to speak to Apple because we've been Apple users for a long, long time. Siri is just so often can't answer the most basic questions I will ask her.
I think we have to go to AI.
Siri is like, Apple, you guys are miles behind. Can I just say it?
You can.
All right, put Apple on blast.
Yeah.
Tim Cook, I'm sure he's going to call me. Okay, well, we're going to have more on AI, absolutely more, because there's tons of ethical questions here. But we just want to remind you all that you were made by a God who loves you, and please do everything you can to not replace real relationships with AI relationships.
That's right.
Because God has great things in store, and those relationships are no doubt easier.
That's right.
But that doesn't mean they're better.
That's right. Yep.
All right. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate if you subscribe or like the pod, and we'll see you next time.